and are able to do it, so we're going to continue to do that here.
Good evening. I'm Peter Dellavedova, employee of Excelon Business Services Company, and I am the Principal Category Manager for Facilities and Real Estate Services. My scope of responsibilities includes 3 utility companies. If you take a look, go back a slide please. Take a look at our logo, which is in the lower right-hand corner. You can see those 3 wavy lines there. Those represent the 3 utility companies that are Excelon companies. Red is for Commonwealth Edison in Chicago, blue is for PECO, Philadelphia Electric Company, green is for Baltimore Gas and Electric. Besides those 3 utilities, I also provide support to generating company, nuclear stations, fossil fuel, hydroelectric, solar, wind, etc., etc., etc. Besides this project, and this project is something that's of extreme importance to Excelon. In fact, it's so important, I'm on vacation. I came in to talk with you folks because it's that important to us. Wow. Okay? And my bride of 32 years is sitting back there. I brought her along because for the last 3 years, for the last 3 years, she's been listening to me talk about what a wonderful town Baltimore is, what a beautiful city it is, and what great hospitality I've experienced during my trips out here. So she just had to come along and take a look. But be that as it may, other than this project, there are other opportunities that come up from time to time. You heard me mention BG&E, Constellation, hydro, generating stations, etc., etc. I want to tap the resources that you represent to employ your skills and abilities on those other areas as well, not just the headquarters project. That's what I'm going to talk about, is other stuff besides the headquarters project. What I do doesn't impact on what Turner does, and then what they do doesn't impact on what I do. We're separate entities. So we could focus here for a moment. Pre-qualification process. If you go to the Excelon Corporation web page, on the top of the screen, you'll see a button for suppliers. If you click on that, it'll take you to an opportunity to register with Excelon to be a supplier. Here's a better way to do it. The danger of going through that path is you get into the system, nobody knows you're there, and you get missed. If you want to do work within the facilities and real estate arena with Excelon, send me an email. I will send you a link to the site to go register with our online sourcing tool. Once you've completed registering, send me an email back telling me you've completed the process. I can go and then activate your user profile, add you to the My Suppliers group, and make sure you're included in opportunities that come up within the span of services that you offer. Things that we look at is pretty much the same as what Turner does, with a slightly different twist. Our safety requirements are a showstopper. It's a go, no-go test, and we'll get more into that later. We always look for companies who have proven themselves capable. We want the A-team doing work for us, but that doesn't mean we're not interested in developing other suppliers along the way. We certainly want to take advantage of those opportunities. They'll sound like mutually exclusive goals. They are. That's why they pay me to manage that. We use a sourcing tool called Perfect Commerce. It's an online tool. It's all computerized. It was originally engaged for high-dollar bids. I tend to use it for almost all sourcing events because it does provide a legal record of the communications that were sent out, were received, responses thereto, bid packages, etc. And that saved my 6 o'clock one time. Let me just digress for a moment. After bids were received, a non-successful supplier complained that somebody had given the successful bidder everybody else's pricing so they could then undercut them. Well, the investigator came in, I opened up the system, and the responses were date time stamped. The successful bidder had been the first one who submitted his package, so I was therefore able to disprove the allegation, which was completely unfounded. One of the basic precepts of our sourcing process is that it's fair and equitable, and everybody gets the same fair shot at the target. Let's talk about terminology for a moment. We tend to use two vehicles through the sourcing tool. RFI is request for information. RFP is request for proposals. Some people kick around RFQ. There's ambiguity there. What does it mean? What's the context of the person who's looking at that? Is it a request for qualifications or a request for a quotation? In my previous life, I was an officer in the U.S. Navy, spent 20 years, and was glad to have done so. I served a tour in the Pentagon as a procurement official. And no, I did not buy the $600 ashtray or the $2,000 hammer. I bought electronic test equipment for the Department of the Navy. And one of the things they taught us there to illustrate that the same word can mean different things to different groups of people. Imagine, if you will, 4 officers told, secure a building. An Air Force officer would go out, sign a lease for 99 years with an option for 99 more. A Navy officer would go out, turn off all the lights, lock the doors, and leave. An Army officer would set up a perimeter with barbed wire and machine guns and not let anybody in or out. And our brethren in the Marine Corps would bring a company of infantry online, call it an airstrike, and then assault the rubble.
Remember you said.
So, it's important to understand the context and have mutual understanding of what the different words mean. If you ever have a question, by all means, ask it. There's no such thing as a stupid question. When we issue an RFP, we'll have a scope of work, terms, and then other administrative elements that are part of the response that we'll be looking for. It's okay to ask questions, to seek clarification, and if there are elements in our scope statement that you feel are unwise or cannot be complied with, take exception to those. Obviously, we don't want somebody to come back saying, oh, you guys are all messed up, you're doing it all wrong, this is the way you should do it. Work with us. It's okay to take exceptions when there's a good reason to, but just don't take exceptions because you want to create a process. It's best to keep it as simple as you can, as my friend Tony Hill well knows. And whenever we do get into an evaluation, the number and severity of exceptions that suppliers take are considered in the bid evaluation process. One of the pitfalls that I see continually is somebody tries to lowball it, figuring they'll make it back on change orders later. Don't do that. You'll get hurt doing that. Presenting a too low competitive price with numerous exceptions that make it difficult to work together is counterproductive. What we're looking for is reasonable exceptions and a good price that represents what you feel is a fair cost for actually doing the work. Part of the process is to, the first thing you do is you'll sign a non-disclosure agreement electronically. You click on a box, boom, you're good to go. Terms and conditions. We have numerous flavors of terms and conditions that are appropriate depending on what the work is. We have a 57-page service and materials agreement for big jobs or long-term relationships. We have about a 70-page consulting and professional services agreement. That's for like architects and people of that genre. We have shorter versions, which we use whenever we can. General terms for services, for materials, or for services and materials. And we try to be reasonable. If somebody has a suggestion for a change to the terms, we entertain those. But if you hand me back a document that looks like somebody dipped it in a bucket of red paint, that might not be well received. You'll also be expected and required to indicate compliance with Excelon's code of conduct, which means we follow the laws, we don't do things unethically. It's pretty much common sense. Bid validity. Somebody asked about bid validity. Our standard is 180 days. If for some reason you can't meet that 180-day bid validity requirement, you will have an opportunity to tell us what you can do. And then there are insurance requirements. Liability, insurance, professional, vehicle, others, they're all in the terms, and they vary from one set of terms to the next. How to present a strong position was, like I said, only minor exceptions. We don't expect you to take everything, because obviously we wrote the terms to protect us. And if there's something in there that you just cannot live with, you need to tell us what that is so we know what to expect if we get into a terms negotiation with your company. Typical pitfalls and suboptimal responses. You got to answer all the questions. If I see somebody who skipped every third question, generally get the feel that they didn't take the process seriously, and those kinds of things are not well received. Key requirements. I talked about registering on our website. Oh, this is diversity. I'm sorry, I was talking about perfect commerce. Okay, Frank, where are you? Frank Kelly? Where's my friend Frank Kelly?
Frank left already.
Frank left, okay. There is on the Excelon webpage, there's a place to go to register as a diversity supplier. We recognize almost any of the third-party certifying agencies, and that will actually make sure that we do consider your diversity certification doing our bid evaluation process, and also in developing bidders lists to be invited to the RFPs. We expect that when you come to us, you will have a certificate. If you don't have a certificate and you're in the process of seeking certification, tell us so, we'll take that into account. And you need to maintain your certification once you get it, and not let it lapse. Okay, elements of a bid. Environmental performance. Obviously, did anybody see the news release that came out? Excelon had committed to reducing our carbon footprint by a certain amount by the year 2020. Well, we've already made it. We exceeded our goal. We met our target early, and we're all very happy about that and look forward to further achievements as responsible stewards of our planet's resources. For what we do, we're looking to make sure that you don't have any notices of violation, and that you have a plan in case some unfortunate event occurs and spill gas tank puncture. How you have a plan for recovering from spill of hazardous materials. Next. Getting back to the RFP process. Safety. If you can't work safely, you won't work for Excelon. It's that simple. We have some very straightforward goals. Your EMR, experience modification rate, we expect to be less than 1.0. If it's not, that alone is not necessarily disqualifying, although it does necessitate further information. We want to know what types of accidents your people have been sustaining, what actions you've taken to correct whatever behavioral issues went into those accidents, and we want to see an improving trend. Incident rate. This is your OSHA recordable rate. Now, 14 years ago, Commonwealth Edison had a national provider working on their system who killed 2 employees within a 3-month period. They were off the property by noon of the day of the second fatality and haven't been invited back since. One of the things that we learned as the owner from that unfortunate event was that we have a responsibility to ensure that we hire companies who know how to work safely. So how do we pick the number 3.5 for the incident rate? That is the average incident rate for companies working in our industry nationwide. We want people above average, in the upper half. And 14 years ago, that number was 8. 8 injuries per 200,000 worker hours. Now it's down to 3.5, which proves that injuring people is not part of the process of doing business. It's controllable, and we can control it. For each job you'll be submitting to us, we will expect to see a project organizational chart, schedule, Gantt chart, business continuity plan. Does anybody know what that means? Okay, that means if bad stuff happens, like Hurricane Peter comes through and knocks everything out of power, what's your backup plan? How are you going to keep doing business? By the way, I saw that there is a Hurricane Peter scheduled for 2015. It was on the list. So I'm looking forward to that. And then specific technical questions. In each RFP, at the discretion of my business unit clients, we do have the opportunity to ask specific questions about your level of experience, expertise, technical capabilities, et cetera, et cetera. How to build a strong position. Well, good safety performance is obviously the foundation of that. We expect to see sufficient detail that we know you have a grasp of what the process is, what the intent of the question was, and you have an understanding of what we're looking for and a way of giving us what we need. Project charts, etc. Pitfalls. Safety performance is poor or tending negatively. If your safety performance, like I said, doesn't meet our criteria, but it's been trending in the right direction, that's something we'll take into account and see if we can give a waiver. In order to give a waiver for a company who doesn't meet those criteria, I need to get a VP, Vice President sign-off. They take this stuff seriously, believe me. And point of contact. Some people try and impress me by giving me the name of the president of their company as my point of contact for any questions on the RFP. Well, then I call the guy and I can't get past his secretary, the other 15 guardians, to get to him. So give me the person who I can get on the phone within like 90 seconds when I call. Don't give me the president of the company unless he is the guy I can get in 90 seconds. We're looking for companies who are financially sound. Doesn't happen to me, but one of my colleagues went through a very complex, difficult sourcing action, negotiated terms, pricing was set for a 4-year agreement. They awarded the contract, and the blasted company went out of business the next week. Yeah, so we do ask for some financial information. Nobody will see that except me. And if I have questions, our risk management people. The rest of the bid evaluation team does not see any financials that I received. I do check your Standard & Poor's ratings. We look for good, strong history with none of the indicators there. And of course, the pitfalls are the flip side of the strong position. We're looking for, like I said, the A team, we're looking for people who have experience, who have been able to prove that they can do the work that we're seeking to hire somebody to do. And these vary from job to job. These are just rough guidelines. These are by no means hard and fast rules for all applications. I'll give you a moment to peruse those. Okay. Key requirements for reporting, safety, schedule, and budget. We expect the people who you present to us as part of your project management team to be versed in standard reporting models, that they're able to comply with our schedules and periodicity and expectations, that they meet the ability to report the things that we think are important, safety schedule, and budget. If you have examples, we want to see those. And I guess sometimes we will present an example the way we want it to be reported. If you have a better way to skin the cat, tell us. I've seen project managers go, ooh, this guy's got it. We're doing this. So by all means, if you have a better way to perform those tests, tell us. Key elements of the bid evaluation: pricing and additional value. We're always looking for best value. Best value does not necessarily mean lowest price. We do a weighted bid evaluation model, and that varies from sourcing event to sourcing event. Don't ask me what it is, I won't tell you. That's internal information that's not to be shared. For construction outside, you should consider weather delays. Most of our stuff is inside, and that's not a huge issue. One thing that we do like is volume discounts. If we have a relationship and we're saying we're going to be spending money with you over a period of time, at what point do I start seeing a break in the pricing? Economy of scale. We expect to benefit from that. Early payment discounts. Excelon pays on net 45 standard terms. For me to agree to a lesser payment term, there has to be some compelling business reason. Not just, well, we want to be nice guys. If I get a 2% or a 1% prompt payment discount, I am then authorized to pay you in a shorter amount of time. Good. In fostering engagement and trust with Baltimore Gas and Electric and other Excelon entities around here, know your wheelhouse. By that I mean, what is your area of strength and competence? Don't try and take on things that you're not experienced and competent to perform. Some people want to bite off all that they can chew and end up choking on it, and then nobody's happy. We do expect to see diversity and inclusion as part of your proposal. And where is that? Okay. We had, let's talk about diversity and inclusion. If your company is a diversity company, great. If you're not, that is not disqualifying, but we do expect you to help us achieve our goal of diversity and inclusion, and that's going to vary from sourcing event to sourcing event. I do know that we have an obligation with our memorandum of agreement with the City of Baltimore to achieve certain diversity and inclusion goals. We're be very aggressive in pursuing those. If you're not a diverse supplier, we expect you to help us meet that goal by engaging second-tier diversity subcontractors. Excelon believes that the diversity of our supplier base should reflect the diversity of our customer base across the board. That's one of our basic corporate goals, and it's very important to us. As far as my organization and my team, I report to a fellow named James Gregory, who works out at the Lord Baltimore building. My office is in Chicago. I have a partner named David Crow, whose office is at MOB in Philadelphia, but he's down here in Baltimore for a couple days every other week, or even every week if necessity requires. And our sourcing specialist is a young lady named Christine Venn. She keeps us all in line. She's like our work mom. She lets us know when we're messing up. Now, I said to send me an email. I just realized my email address appeared nowhere in this entire presentation. If you take my name, Peter.Delavedova, mash it all together, Peter.Delavedova, at Excelon Corp, EXELONCORP.com, that will get you to my email inbox. I also brought a few cards if somebody needs one. I'll leave with one later.
Can you repeat it, please? Just the last part of your.
ExcelonCorp.com. And that concludes my presentation. Anybody have a question they want to ask about doing business with Excelon other than the headquarters project? Sir?
I read in the Baltimore Sun about 60 days ago where Excelon was approved to build new generation in Hartford County, gas, add to an existing facility that you have. Are you part of that?
Yes.
Now, are you going to exercise the supply diversity protocol with that?
Our intent is to, yes, and we were still in the process of building the bidders list for that RFP. And if you have a card in your business, you think you want to participate in this process, give me your card before you leave. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Is there anything out there bidding right now, Peter? Is there anything on the bid board?
Other than that gas plant expansion we're talking about, no, not right now, but other things pop up with very little notice. Facilities at BG&E sometimes gets urgent tasks we need somebody to go do this right now. It could be as simple as remodeling a bathroom. It could be an entire building renovation. It varies from moment to moment as far as what the requirements are that we're being asked to respond to.
What about any of the maintenance on your, I think it's the one up Peach Bottom and Calvert Cliffs, the nuclear.
The nuclear generating stations? That is a different category manager, but if you'll send me your, I'd be glad to pass your contact information to the nuclear people. He has an unpronounceable name, George Triantafopoulos, but I'd be glad to pass your information to George.
Very good. This is promising because I don't think we've ever had this type of inclusion before on any of these projects.
It's very important to us, sir.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you post your opportunities on your website on Excelon? or do
We
you
do not.
send them? Okay.
It's all by invitation,
Okay.
and I'm not offended with people calling me now and then, just, poke, hey, what's coming down the pike? But just, keep your name in the forefront of my thought processes. I'm certainly open to those types of communications.
Do you always do, if it's emergency service, do you use it on your website, or do you use like
If
qualifiers?
it's an emergency and we don't have time to do an RFP, I will go to a contractor with whom I have terms and pricing in place.
Okay.
And
Otherwise, you use it.
we try to do a competitive bid process to the fullest extent possible. There are some times when we simply don't have time to run an RFP.
Sure.
Do you have master services agreements
We
for
do.
engineering?
We do. And in fact, we call those contractors of choice, COCs. Sir?
Just one final question. Do you guys have any involvement with BGE Home?
No. That's a separate business unit and I don't support that. Anybody else? Who's next? Thank you for your attention.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ramita Goodman with Early Warning Software and part of the project delivery team. And now it's your turn to get up and talk to others in the room. You've been sitting for probably over an hour. So if you have business cards, please exchange business cards with folks that are in the room. And we will keep you posted about the next outreach event.
Please give Normita a hand because she pulled all this stuff together.
Anybody want Peter's card?
Been doing it.
Oh, here we go.
Want that one?
Motion